Hey guys, this is just another tutorial just to show you a little more about Blender. I just watched my first video and I realized it wasn't as in depth as it could have been. So I'm back again just as a, how would I call it, a addition I guess to my first tutorial. And so what I want to show you is just different buttons on the screen that you could use. This is more for beginners. So if you've been following my other tutorials apart from my first one, you would probably know most of everything I'm gonna tell you right now, so this wouldn't be in your best interest to watch this one. But if you're a newcomer, then yeah, you should watch this one. So we're gonna start with the arrows. These arrows are very useful. They're just like the G button, except that when you grab one and you pull it, you can pull it along that certain region, that axis should I say. And that's very helpful if you don't want to let go of your mouse key and hit the G button, or if you just want to move something in a certain direction. And the nice thing about them is if you're in edit mode, you can also do it with whatever you select. So I can move that vertex up the x-axis, over the y-axis, and clicking on the Y arrow for the x-axis, just like that. So that's pretty cool. I'm just Control Z to undo. And another thing I want to show you is this orange button right here. This orange circle is the center point, the medium point. And so that if I were to tab out, that's where it rotates from. That's where it grabs it from. And you can change this to, let's click over here on our mouse cursor. And down here, the pivot point, let's change that to the 3D cursor. So now if I was to grab it from back here, it would move it as if you were grabbing it from over here. I don't know if that makes sense. But if we change it back to the center, to the medium point, I forgot what it was called. The manipulator widget goes back to the center of the square. So that's handy to know. Another thing you should know about is down here, global. It gives you different orientation views, and we're going to focus on global and local. Global is what you would normally use. So let's say we rotate this. The global is still up and down. Like the Z is still up, even though the top face is rotated that way. Local, it rotates the 3D cursor, the 3D transformer widget, so that it's pointing towards the top of the cube. So now if you move it, you'd move it along that way. Another way to toggle that is, let's go back to global, is to, I'm going to just undo all that. Another way to toggle that is, let's grab it, well, let's rotate it first. Alright, so now let's grab it, and we would grab it along that way. So now let's grab it on the Z axis. It'll drag it up and down. But let's say you want to drag it, well, let's press Z again, and now it drags it along the top of this cube, the way that the top is facing, which is a local axis. So let's rotate it a little more, and let's hit Z. Well, grab Z, and it grabs along the Z axis. Let's hit Z again, and so now we know that the top of the cube is either this face right here, which I'm chasing it, or the top, or this back face right here. It's a good thing to know if you want to do a complicated scene. If you go to local, now we can see that this is the top face actually of the cube. So it's good to know if it's not, well, it's kind of hard to tell with the cube. I'm just going to add a monkey. But if you had like a dinner table or something like that, or something that's not uniform, that'd be good to know. I just hit X to delete it. So now let's just right click on our monkey and let's grab it. I'm going to hit 0 for camera view. And let's click this down here, the arcing line. This is the rotation widget, I guess you could say. By grabbing these lines, they move the monkey in that respective axis. So this is another easy way to rotate your monkey, so that, let's say we want it to look right at the camera, you know. So that's also a good thing to know. I'm gonna hit 0 to get out of camera view. Let's go back to our arrow, to our transformer widget. And let's see what else I wanted to show you. Oh yeah, let's hit 1, the front perspective. Now I'm sure if you watched my other tutorials, you've noticed that whenever I try to let's rotate something, like in my staircase tutorial, it would rotate it very weirdly, like the pole that I had, the railing, because I was in 3D mode. But if I were to go into the front perspective, and if you are to rotate, it'll rotate counterclockwise or clockwise along that front perspective. If I were to hit 3 for that from the right perspective and I were to rotate it, it would rotate it clockwise or counterclockwise or around the right perspective. If I were to hit 7 for the top perspective, and it would just rotate it clockwise or counterclockwise along these perspectives. I don't know what works for the camera, just in front of the camera, I guess, the view. But that's just something to know. It's a good reference point to have if you were to model just like what I did with the staircase. Another thing you should know is about the layers. Layers are a good thing to have if you were modeling a very complex scene, and just moving different objects to different layers would be beneficial so that you don't crowd your scene. So I'm just going to Shift D and duplicate this, move it around. So this is my scene, and I just want to work with my monkey. I can either Shift right click on all my cubes and hit H to hide, which it hides it momentarily while I just transform my monkey or whatever, and just Alt H brings them back. Another thing you can do is you can move it to a different layer. Let's right click on this cube and this cube. Let's right click on these two cubes and let's hit M for move, and let's just go to the second layer over here. Let's hit M again. I don't know if that's a bug, but you just have to do it twice. And so now you see this orange dot down here. That tells you that there's active objects in that layer. So let's hit A to deselect. Let's go over to this and let's right click right here. It shows us where our active transformer widget would be. And these dots down here show you that there's an object on that layer. Something I like to do is when I'm doing a complicated scene is just Shift right click on my camera and my lighting and move those to another layer, just so that they're not crowding me and my scene. And once you render it, you can just render it with well, if you render it, I don't think it'll show up. It won't show up and it's dark because it has no lighting, obviously. But you can render all the layers together, which is good to have by just Shift right clicking on each layer. Oops. Shift left clicking on each layer, and it brings all your objects back. So if I hit F12 to render, there I have my lighting and the other cubes. So if you're doing a complicated scene that requires a lot of objects, and just moving into different layers helps that too. Some hotkeys for the layers would be the keys on top of your keyboard, not the numpad keys but the other ones. So just hitting 1 brings me to the first layer, hitting 2 brings me to the second layer, and hitting 3 brings me to the third layer. As you can see down here, it says number 3. So just hit 1. Another thing I wanted to show you is let's tab into edit mode. Whenever you tab into edit mode, your default selection would be vertices. I'm going to hit A to deselect. If you wanted to change that easily using hotkeys, you can do Control Tab, and 2 would bring me to edge mode. Control Tab 3 would bring me to face mode, and Control Tab 1 would bring me to vertice mode. So that's good to know if you don't want to just come down here and click on these. Blender has multiple ways to do one action. Just like you can either come down here or you can use the hotkeys to change from the different vertice modes. And that's about it I wanted to show you. I think that covers everything I wanted to show you. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or tips, please comment below.